Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mattel Jurassic World review. Today we're taking a look at the new Dino Escape Mega Destroyers, Carcharodontosaurus. It's so nice to see a new species in the line. I felt like the end of Primal Attack was just bogged down with repaint after repaint, so it's really refreshing that we're getting some new species in Dino Escape. I've been looking forward for Carcharodontosaurus to make its debut in the Jurassic World line. I ended up picking this figure up at Target. It retails for around $20. Lately, Target has been doing a reset of their toy section, and for the last week or so, they have nothing on the shelves, and I popped in there today, and they were fully loaded with 4 Carcharodontosaurus. They had a few of the new Raw Attack Ceratosaurus. They got in a bunch more colossal figures, and I'm sure they'll be having the Ford Explorer set, and the Scorpius Rex should be popping up soon. I wouldn't be surprised on August 1st, because that's a street date for a couple of figures if Targets are fully loaded by then. So let's just go with the package really quick before we take a closer look at this figure. Comes in the new Dino Escape style packaging that we first saw with the new T-Rex. You got the Jurassic World logo up here. Lifting the tail up, you can see blue in the corner. Behind the Carcharodontosaurus, you have some busted up paddock fencing. You have a couple pictures of how the action feature works on this figure. And turn the box to the side, you got the Dino Escape logo on the side. And on the back of the box, you got a picture of the Carcharodontosaurus and how that action feature works. And the biggest drawing point of this series is the return of capture gear, which I'm really excited about. And then down here with a picture of the Stegosaurus. For some reason, I thought the Stegosaurus was going to be packed in the same case as this Carcharodontosaurus. I guess that's not the case. This might be a Wave 2 offering. So enough about the packaging. Almost knocked it into the camera. Let's take a closer look at this figure. Alright, let's start with a nice 360-degree view of the Carcharodontosaurus. Really love how this figure turned out. The paint scheme on here is excellent. Now, I know it doesn't look like what a car should look like in real life. That skull shape is completely wrong, but this is a nice homage to the Jurassic World Evolution version of this dinosaur, and Mattel really nailed the paint scheme. The paint scheme on this figure matches to the default color scheme in-game, and they did a really nice job painting this figure. And when you look at that, there's actually paint apps on the tail. You don't see that too often in this line, so I'm really happy when I do see it. Really, the only thing that they should have painted to make it look more complete is on the thigh region, but the sculpt and detail in this figure is fantastic. Just love all those bony knobs on the skull. A lot of nice fine scale detail and sculpting all over the body, especially on the hind legs, and I absolutely love the capture gear. It's just big and bulky, and it's just so much fun to mess around with, but we'll take a closer look at that capture gear a little later on in the review. Alright, let's just do a couple quick measurements on this figure. This figure, if you measure it along the curve of the tail, the tip of the tail bends a little bit. It's just about 15 inches long and just under 7 inches tall. So Carcharodontosaurus in real life was around 39 to 44 feet long. So I put this figure somewhere in the 131 to the 135 scale range, which unfortunately makes this figure way too small to scale with the T-Rex and Spinosaurus in the line. In real life, Carcharodontosaurus was roughly around the same length as T-Rex, so it's kind of unfortunate that, you know, this other super predator kind of gets the shaft and just made a really small version of that. But I'm sure we're going to get a large Giganotosaurus in the future, because it's going to be the big baddie in Dominion. And I think the other reason is, I just think, you know, shelf space is limited at stores, and Mattel can't, you know, make every figure to scale, and it's just going to clog up the shelves. You know, T-Rex and Spinosaurus sell really well, so I'm sure they probably didn't want to take a chance with a large version of Carcharodontosaurus, even though personally I think it would sell well. But other than that, I am happy with the figure other than the size. So let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with the head sculpt. Like I said earlier, the head shape on this figure looks nothing like how Carcharodontosaurus looked like in real life, but it is accurate to how it looked in Jurassic World Evolution. So hey, at least it's accurate to something. The main body is like a muted yellow coloration, and they have some orange paint on the snout that turned into orange stripe, and that goes down just past the hips. And then going back to the head, you have all these dark chocolate brown markings that form stripes. The eye is a dark orange color with a brown pupil. You have all nice scale variation all over the head, and you have all these bony knobs that start just before the nostrils that continue all over the top of the head. That's actually a really nice touch. I like how that feels in hand. And then starting at the top of the head, you have this nice row of soft rubber spikes that goes all the way down to almost the tip of the tail. And then going down to the neck, you can see that nice striping, which is accurate to the in-game model of Carcharodontosaurus in Jurassic World Evolution. And then going down to the neck, you get some nice folds and wrinkles. And actually, forgot to cover the teeth inside the mouth. The teeth are painted an off-white color. And then opening the mouth up, you can see the tongue has a nice gloss coat over it. And then turn the figure over, you can see the roof of the mouth is also painted a bright pink color. Now going down to the arms. Arms are nicely sculpted, a lot of fine scale detail and texturing. Unfortunately, the hand claws are not painted in. Mattel very, very rarely paints the hand claws on their figures. There's only a few I can think of off the top of my head. The original Legacy Collection Spinosaurus and the new T-Rex in the Dino Escape series actually has the hand claws painted. And going down to the body, you can see more of that nice striping with the orange and brown, some nice scale detail. Going down to the hind leg. Hind legs are beautifully sculpted. Got lots of nice folds and wrinkles, muscle definition, scale variation, especially around the knee area. Conveys a lot of movement with all those folds and wrinkles. And going down to the feet, the toe claws are not painted, which is unfortunate. You know, another issue with Mattel, you know, usually the larger figures, the toe claws are painted, and here and there, they won't paint them. I just feel like the hind legs look very, very plain. I wish there was some more markings along the thighs to really make this color scheme look like the one from Jurassic World Evolution, and definitely the lack of paint on the toe claws make the hind legs look very plain. And since we're talking about the feet, here is the scan code for the Dino app if you feel like scanning that in. And then going down to the tail, you can see more of those markings. And like I said, this is a nice surprise. We actually have, you know, paint on the tails. A lot of figures, the painting stops right about here, and the tails are just very plainly colored. So I'm glad to see some paint apps on the tail of this figure. You can see that row of spikes, another stripe of brown right here, and the tail ends with a little bit of a curve. And here it is from the top if you want to see that pattern. So yeah, I really, really like how the color scheme came out in this figure. I like how it looks like the Carcharodontosaurus from Jurassic World Evolution, and I hope Mattel does more color schemes from Jurassic World that, you know, gives them reasons to repaint all the figures, and if they look like the in-game models, I'll definitely buy them. And let's just go over articulation really, really quick. The arms can move forwards and backwards. They're on a hinge that allows them to swing out. The hind legs can move backwards and forwards, and they are on a pivot to help with stability. The tail can move side to side, up and down, and can rotate 360 degrees. Now the head is connected to the action feature, but we'll get to that momentarily. So let's just go over the capture gear this figure comes with. And here is the capture gear, which is really, really well done. Lots of detail on here. There's no paint, it's just cast in a dark gray plastic, but lots of molded detail. I love the blinders right here. When you place over the Carcharodontosaurus, it blocks the eyes, so which would help, you know, keep a large animal under control if it couldn't see. They have all this padding built in, so these, you know, this metal wouldn't cut into the animal. So a lot of attention to detail from Mattel, and this piece actually does split in two. That's because it has a breakaway action feature. And to put the capture gear on the figure, you just need to place it like that, and then bring this bottom piece up and just plug it into those couple of ports. And now the Carcharodontosaurus is captured. See how that blinders block the eye? I think that's a really, really cool looking touch. And to activate its breakout feature, there is a button on its back just above its hip, so you just need to push that a couple times and it will break out. You can see it works pretty well. And one thing I noticed about the button, this button looks like it's made of plastic. It's actually made of a very soft, rubbery material. Like when I push it in, like my finger is denting in this. It's kind of weird that, you know, usually those buttons are cast in the same hard plastic as the figures. But, you know, it blends in really well with the figure. It's not as ugly looking as that clicking slider button that they did for some odd reason on the new Raw Attack figures. But that is another tangent for another day when I eventually review that Ceratosaurus. I have some things to say about that button. Moving on to comparisons, here it is with one of the human figures. Here it is with Dennis Nedry. And here it is with the Attack Pack Mosaurus. And here it is with the Savage Strike Velociraptor. And here it is with the Soundstrike Sinoceratops. And here it is with the Spinosaurus. Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus actually existed in the same ecosystem. You can see the Spinosaurus figure absolutely dwarfs the Carcharodontosaurus. Like I said, Carcharodontosaurus in real life was a lot bigger than this toy represents, and like the Spino could absolutely decimate this thing if it wanted to, so it would have been nice if this was just a little bit bigger. And here it is with the new Dino Escape Tyrannosaurus Rex. And yet again, you can see this T-Rex absolutely dwarfs this Carcharodontosaurus. You know, Carcharodontosaurus should be roughly about the same size as T-Rex. So yet again, too small. You know, like I said, that's my biggest complaint about this figure, but I am just happy that we actually have a car in the Jurassic World line. So the size not is bugging me as much as it should be, but like I said, wish it was just a little bit bigger. And lastly, just to show you all what I was talking about, here is an accurate Carcharodontosaurus figure. This is P and S. As you can see, the head shape is much different than what we got on this figure. You know, I really don't pick apart the Jurassic World figures for not being accurate. They kind of do their own thing. They exist in their own universe. But it's just nice to point out, like, you know, the vast differences between their styles and what the animals should look like. So, final thoughts on this figure. I really like it. I think it's a very well done figure from Mattel. The paint scheme is fantastic, and it goes a long way to actually paint the tails of their figures. Makes the figures look much more complete. You know, I just wish there was some paint apps on the thighs and the toe claws being painted, but other than that, I think it looks absolutely beautiful. You know, it's not a scientifically accurate Carcharodontosaurus, but it is accurate to how it appeared in Jurassic World Evolution. And I hope in the future Mattel goes back and repaints some of their other figures with the Jurassic World Evolution colors, especially the T-Rex. I'm tired of getting Rexy over and over and over again. You know, mix it up. You know, if they give us a completely different color scheme, we'll probably buy them. T-Rex sells. Give us some different colors. Maybe even do a retro red Rex. That thing will sell like crazy. And plus, I love the inclusion of the capture gear. Capture gear adds a whole dimension of play with these figures. And my only issue with the capture gear is so few figures in the line so far have it. You know, from what we've seen, what is coming out, you know, with the Roar Attacks and the Savage Strikes, those figures don't come with capture gear. And I feel like that's a huge, huge missed opportunity. I really don't care about the gimmicks and the, you know, roars and sounds. I would like to see them come with capture gear in the future, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're only going to see the capture gear on some of these larger figures, and that's going to be it for the line, which is unfortunate. Like I said at the beginning of the review, I end up finding this figure at Target. Retails for around 20 bucks, and it seems like a lot of people will find them all over the country right now. I know Target is gearing up for a big release on August 1st, so keep hitting those targets, and you should get lucky and easily find this figure. So that will do it for the review. The only other new Jurassic World figure I have to review is the Roar Attack Ceratosaurus. And I still got a couple older AMA collections I really have to get off my butt and finish reviewing. So be on the lookout for those reviews in the near future. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.